amber descent of a Sunday 7 o'clock spills across the waxen floors of the nave, like honeyed oil from a broken jar of alabaster. Here the daylight surrenders its final breath to the creeping violet of the vesper hour, a liturgical twilight, where the architecture of grief meets the geometry of hope. The grand piano stands as a dark leviathan in the transept, its lid propped open like a wing, prepared for a flight that never leaves the earth but vibrates deep within its iron marrow. Each ivory key is a white tombstone waiting for the touch of a finger to resurrect a memory, a monochromatic between the silence of the cemetery and the resonance of the sanctuary. We gather not to bury the light, but to harvest the shadows left behind by those who have stepped through the thin veil of the tabernacle into the uncreated noon of the Creator. The first movement of our solace is a whisper of felt against string, a soft percussion that mimics the heartbeat of a mother now stilled beneath the parish sod. It is a Christian cartography of the soul, mapping the distance between the last rattling breath and the first alleluia of the kingdom. The choir inhales the scent of extinguished beeswax and damp stone, their throats forming a collective chalice to hold the vintage of our sorrow. They sing not of the end, but of the transition, a melodic theology where the minor key of the funeral mass dissolves into the major resolution of the resurrection. Each voice is a thread of silver pulled through the needle of the present moment, stitching the names of the departed into the tapestry of the communion of saints. 8 times the melody shifts its weight from the shoulder of mourning to the hip of grace. 8 stations of a musical cross, where we find the strength to remain standing when the earth has claimed its portion. The second song arrives with the gravity of Gregorian stone, yet lightened by the piano's cascading arpeggios that fall like rain upon a parched garden. It is the Catholic heart beating in time with the Latin rhythms of the Requiem Aeternam, a plea for perpetual light that ignores the clock on the vestry wall. 7 o'clock is merely a threshold, a chronological gate where the secular week expires and the eternal Sabbath begins its reign. In the low register of the bass singers, we navigate the 3rd and 4th echoes with the precision of a rosary being told in the dark. Each note a bead, each pause a prayer for the repose of those who taught us how to sign the cross. The piano does not merely play, it interrogates the silence, asking why the lilies must wither while the stone remains. The choir answers in a polyphonic wave, a sea of human breath that washes over the pews, carrying the scent of incense and the salt of tears. There is no haste in this Sunday evening, only the deliberate unfolding of a grief that has been sanctified by the promise of the empty tomb. We see the faces of the gone in the flickering votives, their features traced in the vibrations of the cello-like hum of the baritones. By the 5th and 6th hymns, the solace has become a tangible garment, that warms the shivering spirit. The piano's high treble begins to mimic the bells of a distant cathedral, calling the lost home through the fog of their own bereavement. This is the memorial of the mundane made magnificent, the sanctification of ordinary lives that were lived in the quiet corners of the pews. We sing for the bakers and the teachers, the silent fathers and the praying grandmothers, their legacies now vibrating in the vocal cords of their children. The music is a ladder of Jacob, reaching from the dust of the funeral parlor to the gold of the celestial city, and we climb it with every soaring soprano line. The seventh song is a stillness that speaks louder than the fortissimo of the world. A piano Sunday meditation where the hammers barely kiss the wire. It is the sound of a soul settling into the arms of the Good Shepherd, a Catholic lullaby for those who have finished the race and kept the faith. The choir's volume tapers to a holy murmur, the sound of wind through the cypress trees of a Mediterranean graveyard here. The sorrow is no longer a jagged flint, but a polished river stone, smooth to the touch and heavy with the weight of a life well loved. We are the stewards of this resonance, the keepers of the flame that refuses to be quenched by the coming night. The eighth and final resolution is a monumental architecture of sound, a cathedral of voices built upon the firm foundation of the piano's deep pedal tones. It is 7:30 now, and the darkness outside is absolute. Yet within these walls, the music has ignited a fire that the night cannot comprehend. The choir expands to the limits of the vaulted ceiling, an explosion of Christian certainty that mocks the finality of the grave. We stand in the debris of our own mortality and sing a defiance of the shroud. The wind through the basalt of Magdala carried more than the salt of the Galilee. It carried the fractured echoes of a soul divided into 7 silences. There was a time when the moon was a witness to a thundering internal winter, where the shadows were not cast by the sun, but by the heavy curtains of a spirit besieged. I walked through the marketplaces with the weight of 1,000 unuttered prayers, my feet treading the dust of a road that led nowhere but to the edge of an abyss. The darkness was a thick tapestry, woven with threads of isolation, and the cold touch of a world that saw only the exterior grime, never the hallowed emptiness within that craved a singular, holy fire. The nights were long corridors of whispering ghosts, and the days were merely the absence of sleep, a gray transit between the terrors of the mind and the indifference of the street. He stood by the water, and the very air seemed to rearrange itself around his presence, as if the molecules of the earth recognized their architect in his gaze. There was no condemnation, only a devastating clarity that stripped away the 7 veils of my torment. The demons did not flee with a shriek. They dissolved like morning mist before a rising sun that knew no setting. For the first time, the silence was not a void, but a sanctuary. Redemption did not arrive as a thunderclap, but as a hand extended into the mire,
pulling the stars back into my eyes. My heart, once a cracked vessel of sorrow, began to beat with the rhythm of a new and terrifying hope, a pulse that echoed the heartbeat of the cosmos itself. I brought the alabaster to the feast, a pale sphere of white stone containing the liquid essence of a lifetime's longing. The fragrance of nard was a scandal to the righteous, a thick and heavy perfume that drowned the scent of roasted meat and human judgment. My tears were the water for his travel-worn feet, and my hair the linen that dried the dust of the world away. To touch the divine with the trembling hands of a seeker is to realize that the distance between the sinner and the saint is but a single surrendered breath. The oil flowed like grace, a golden river, marking the transition from the woman who was lost to the woman who had finally been named. The room was filled with the aroma of sacrifice, a sweetness that lingered long after the whispers of the Pharisees had faded into the night. The hill was a jagged silhouette against a sky that had turned its back on the world. I stood where the shadows gathered deepest, watching the light of the world dim behind a veil of crimson and iron. The silence of the tomb was a physical weight, a cold stone rolled against the mouth of my own future. I sat in the gray dawn of the Sabbath's end, my fingers still smelling of the spices. I had prepared for a corpse, unaware that the scent of death was about to be swallowed by the fragrance of eternity. The garden was a place of ghosts until the earth exhaled a breath of life that shattered the dominion of the grave. The dew on the grass felt like the tears of the earth, turning into pearls of joy. I saw him through a prism of grief, mistaking the master of life for the keeper of the soil. The air was cool, the dawnlight filtering through the olive trees in long silver ribbons. Then the word fell like a drop of honey upon a parched tongue. Miriam. In the speaking of my name, the darkness was not merely banished, it was redeemed, transformed into the very canvas upon which the light was painted. I was the first to see the morning that would never end, the first to carry the fire from the empty cave to the trembling hearts of the brothers. No longer a daughter of the shadows, I became the herald of the dawn, a witness to the impossible truth that love is stronger than the stones of the earth. The path from Magdala to the garden is a journey of 1,000 deaths and a single glorious awakening. It is the story of how the dust becomes stardust when touched by the hem of the infinite faith. Is not the absence of the dark, but the courage to walk through it until the sun rises within the soul. I am the echo of that redemption, a song sung in the key of mercy, a testament that no spirit is too broken to be made whole by the one who calls the stars and the outcast by their secret names. The expiration of my spirit ends here, at the feet of the risen, where the light is finally, beautifully enough. and the shadows are forgotten in the brilliance of an eternal midday.
The dust of ours is not common clay, but a pulverized history of 100,000 footsteps, each treading a path of limestone and sorrow toward a wooden box that held the gravity of a world. He sat there, while the sun rose in a pale sliver over the French fields and remained, until the stars grew weary of watching the earth. A sentinel of the violet stole whose only weapon was a whisper. It was not the grandeur of cathedrals that summoned the desperate, nor the ringing of silver bells, but the quiet rasp of a man who ate the bread of the poor and drank the tears of the penitent as if they were wine. In that narrow enclosure of oak and shadow, the air grew thick with the exhale of secrets, the heavy musk of ancient guilts, and the sharp, metallic tang of cold remorse that clung to the coats of farmers and the lace of queens alike. He became the filter for a nation's darkness, a human vessel through which the brackish water of sin entered, and the crystalline stream of absolution flowed back into the parched soil of the human spirit. Every hour was a bead on a rosary of exhaustion, a mechanical yet mystical endurance, where the body of John Marie withered while his soul expanded to house the orphans of grace. Imagine the weight of 20,000 days, where the ear is a doorway to the underworld, and the heart is it to the light. He did not hear mere words. He heard the fracturing of glass within the chest, the silent scream of the prodigal, and the dull thud of the soul falling against the floor of its own pride. The number is a mountain, 100,000, a demographic of the broken, a census of the redeemed, each one a unique geography of pain, mapped by the trembling hand of a priest who saw the devil in the corner and God in the eyes of the reaping. He was a gladiator of the internal form, fighting battles in the silence between a stuttered admission and the raising of 3 fingers and a cross of forgiveness. A man who traded his own sleep for the waking peace of others. The wood of the confessional grew smooth under the friction of so many foreheads pressed against the grating, a physical testament to the friction of the divine meeting the mundane. He knew the smell of the fields, the scent of the forge, and the perfume of the city, all blending into one singular aroma of humanity seeking its origin. There was no room for the vanity of the scholar in the school of the heart. He spoke with the brevity of a man who knows that time is a leaking vessel and eternity is the only shore. When the tempter roared in the night, setting his bed aflame with the fires of malice, the curate nearly sighed, for he knew that the salvation of a single drunkard or a lonely widow was worth more than the safety of his own skin. He was a martyr of the ear, a saint of the listening silence, proving that the greatest revolution is not found in the thunder of cannons, but in the quiet shattering of a hardened heart under the pressure of unconditional mercy.
The story is not written in ink, but in the changed trajectories of lives that arrived in ours as winter left us spring. Carrying the scent of the lilies he planted with his prayers. 100,000 times the heavens were forced to open, not because of a king's decree, but because a humble man in a tattered cassock dared to believe that no soul was too stained for the laundries of paradise. He saw the invisible scars left by the world's cruelty and applied the balm of a penance that felt like a gift as the decades wore into his bones, and the skin of his face became a map of divine compassion. The world realized that the miracle was not that he lived on a few potatoes and no rest, but that he could carry the collective shadow of a century without losing his sight of the sun. Even now, the echo of his ego tape absolvo vibrates in the stones of that small village, a life-changing frequency that reminds the weary that the door is never locked. The priest is still waiting, and the 100,001st soul is always the one that matters most.
The sanctuary holds the last amber of the dying day, where the long shadows of the Gothic arches stretch like fingers seeking a benediction across the empty pews. It is 7 o'clock, the hour of the vesper breath, when the world outside slows its frantic pulse, and the stone walls begin to hum with the quiet resonance of a gathering hunger. We come with no coin in our translucent palms, our pockets lined only with the lint of failed ambitions, and the heavy dust of a week spent bartering our souls for bread that does not satisfy. The air is thick with the scent of beeswax and the cooling stone, a sacred silence that prepares the way for the first sustained note of the harmonium. We are the weary, the evening comers, the ones who waited until the light was almost gone to seek the wellspring that does not fail.
Why do you spend your strength upon the parched earth, tilling the salt flats of vanity, while the river of the covenant flows unheeded behind the veil? The invitation is a low melodic ache, an ancient resonance from the scrolls of the prophet, carried on the breath of a choir that sings not for glory, but for survival.
Come to the water,
not as a conqueror
seeks a spring to claim,
but as the cracked clay of the desert seeks the monsoon's first mercy. There is no price for the saturation. The vintage of the kingdom is poured for the penniless, and the milk of divine kindness flows for the one who has nothing left to trade.
We stand in the dimming day,
our voices weaving a tapestry of longing, a John Foley melody that rises like incense, soft-edged and earthen, catching the spirit of the St. Louis woods and the Jesuit heart, where the word is not a weapon, but a cool draught. Listen to the cadence of the drought breaking as the choir breathes together, a singular organism of faith, exhaling the promises of Isaiah. into the darkening vault. Every syllable is a drop of rain hitting the sun-baked stones of our cynicism. You who are hollow-eyed from the pursuit of shadows, you who have built cisterns that can hold no water, come and lean your forehead against the cool rim of this mystery. The water is more than a metaphor. It is the liquid grace that smoothed the jagged edges of the world at the first dawn, now flowing through the small, flickering candles of a Sunday night. We sing to the God who bends the heavens to touch the parched tongue, the God who does not demand a ledger of our worthiness, but only the honesty of our thirst. The music shifts like a slow tide, dragging the silt of our anxieties out into the deep, leaving only the clean sand of a quieted mind. How beautiful is the paradox of the free gift, that the most precious element of the soul's geography is offered to the one who has spent everything and remained empty. We find ourselves reflected in the font, our faces blurred by the ripples of our own songs, recognizing that we are all brothers and sisters in this divine irrigation. The choir's harmony is the sound of many streams converging into a single peaceful delta, where the salt of our tears is lost in the sweetness of the living flow. It is 7 p.m. and the world is dark, but the interior of this temple is a garden being watered in secret, a hidden oasis where the prophet's voice becomes the cantor's prayer. As the final notes linger in the rafters, clinging to the mahogany and the stained glass like dew, we realize that the water has moved from the lyrics into our very marrow. We are no longer the dry bones of the valley, but a people saturated with the promise that the word will not return void, but will prosper in the purpose for which it was sent. The rain and the snow come down from heaven to seed the earth, and so this hymn has seeded the furrows of our fatigue. We leave the sanctuary as vessels fill to the brim, carrying the quiet roar of the river back into the streets, back into the coming week, knowing that the source is eternal and the invitation is forever echoing in the twilight. Come to the water, come to the feast, come and live.
The great pipes groan with the weight of ancient stone, inhaling the dust of centuries to exhale the breath of the living word. Under the vaulted ribs of the nave, the diapason swells, a thundering heartbeat that precedes the first footfall of the faithful. It is the melody of Bunison, a tune forged in the mist of the Hebrides, rising now like a slow-burning sun over the granite altar. The organist pulls the stops of history, and the music becomes a physical architecture, a sanctuary made of air and vibration, where the spirit may finally unbuckle its heavy armor. Here, the silence is not an absence, but a preparation, a clearing of the inner thicket so that the word may walk among the trees of our thoughts.
Christ be the compass when the needle of the soul spins wildly in the magnetic storm of the world. Beside me, he is the unyielding wall of diamond that deflects the air.